Hi everybody, thank you for tuning into another video on TK's Tech Corner. Today we're going to be taking a look at two great mobile game controllers for Android devices that are also compatible with Windows devices or PCs. The first one here is the Nacon MG-X Pro controller, and the next one here is a Moga XP7-X Plus by PowerA. Both great controllers, similar sort of form factor, so I thought it'd be worthwhile doing a comparison video in case you're trying to decide which one to buy. Maybe this one will help you make your decision. I'll just go through some of my favorites, features or pros and cons from my perspective on these two controllers. This one I've only done a review on yesterday, so I haven't used this one too much. I've used this one a bit more, but in any case I think I'll be able to talk about them both because I've had a good hands-on with both of them. And after I recorded the video and uploaded it yesterday, I did play Dead Cells on here. I just carried on playing for quite some time, and it was actually quite comfortable. Really good experience. So I'm going to talk through the pros and cons about both of these controllers from my perspective, what I like about each, what I dislike about each, and then hopefully you'll be able to make a more informed decision on, if any, which one you should buy. I don't know why I've got this here, because it's just lying here on the table, but I'll leave it here anyway. We can maybe use it for some sort of comparisons, and I have no idea why I have the blue one out, but it was lying here, so we'll leave it there. I'm going to, as with all the other videos, be testing these devices on the Fold 4, because my aim for these videos has always been to present the gaming experience using a foldable device, because that's my main phone. And I want to try and get the best out of mobile gaming with such a beautiful large screen. So all of the videos are mainly focused on which device handles this folding device sort of form factor better, and so that's the main purpose of these videos really. So let's go ahead, and one other thing I'm going to do actually is, because people have been talking about thicker cases, this case is very slim. It's almost like having no case on the phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this case off, and I've dug out the thickest case I've got for the phone, which, look at that, is so dusty. It's been on there since I've got it, that's why. Is not a very thick case unfortunately, but it is still thicker than that very gorgeous thin aramid carbon fiber case is this one. Now this is labeled as a slim standing cover. It's the official Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4 case, so they do call it a slim standing case. It's fairly slim, to be honest, given that it's got a kickstand built in. You've got to expect some sort of thickness to it, but overall it's quite a nice case. We'll clip that on and we'll see how these controllers handle a slightly thicker device. So I'll put this front screen, I can't really call it a protector because it isn't doing much. Oh, look at that, I've made a mess of that. You can tell I don't put this on much. Right, there we go. So we've got the front and back covers clipped on, and we'll leave these on for the video. Now you can see the devices are definitely a lot thicker, and it feels very chunky now for me, because I've got so used to having this feeling almost naked, because this cover is literally just so slim. Look how slim that is. So I'm going to put this away for a bit. I'll leave it here. We might need it during the video, we might not, but we'll just leave it out of the way for now, and we'll go ahead and start talking about these. So I will use this for comparison, but let's just talk about these first. I'm not focusing on playing games because I've done that in the independent reviews for these controllers, so I'm not going to be playing games. I just want to spend a good amount of time without rushing, might be a bit of a long video, about the different features and aspects of these controllers. So let's first talk about the size, right? None of these are winning any sort of prize for portability in my view, because unless you're carrying around a rucksack and you've probably got a case to protect these aren't really easy to carry around. That definitely isn't going in your pocket, and if it is going in your pocket, then well, let's just bring a Nintendo Switch in for size comparison, just so you get an idea of what we're working with here. That's a Nintendo Switch. Now for me, because this is really slim and you do get a really nice carry case for this, this is something I'll throw in my bag and travel with, right? Why wouldn't you? Gorgeous gaming console that is. And then here you can see size wise this is roughly the same sort of length, but then obviously a lot thicker. because you've got that very ergonomic sort of grip going on here, almost like the original controllers here. So you know, your hands are wrapping around the controller, fitting very comfortably on there. Access to triggers, the full analog triggers, and the bumper buttons. There is a large bumper buttons. Same as with this one, the ergonomic sort of grip. We'll talk about these buttons later. And again, very comfortable. Now, my view is from a grip perspective. Let's just talk about the grip first of all. Right? Very, very important. When you're going for an ergonomic controller, you want comfort. You're buying this thing for comfort, right? Is the grip on here, and again, everyone's hands are going to be different, sizes are going to be different. The grip here, to me, feels a lot more full because this is thicker. It's a bit bigger as well, right? These parts are a lot thicker. It's a very meaty controller than the ones on here. These ones feel a little bit slimmer to me, and you can see that there, right? They are slimmer, and you can feel that in your hands as well. You can see that these are thicker, right? So this one is very, very comfortable to hold. This one also is very comfortable. I'm not saying it's not comfortable, but it's just that these parts here where your fingers are resting is a bit shorter, and the grip overall is a bit thinner. In no way you're going to get tired playing this. It does fit different hands, different sizes, different people going to have their own opinion of this, but it's just worth noting that this one does have a lot chunkier grips on the side, and your hands, you know, especially if you've got slightly larger hands. I've probably got medium-sized hands. I don't know what hand sizes are. There we go. And let's compare it to this one. If I'm comparing to this one, I would say this is closer to an original Xbox controller because these are quite meaty. Look how that is. And you can see they protrude a lot more as well, right? And you've got a lot more space for your fingers to really wrap around the back of the controllers as well. So it's nice to have that sort of meat right there. And this is a very comfortable controller. Hasn't won yet though, but it's worth pointing that out, right? And then you've got this, so again, yeah, a bit thinner, but your hands still sit very nicely on it, and overall they are both very comfortable. So let's talk about what's happening when your fingers are on there, right? So once you've got it in your grip, naturally for me, my fingers sit on the triggers. I'm expecting most people do, or you do this sort of stuff. But I typically don't use both fingers when I'm playing. I like to use one finger on each side, and for me, my fingers here rest on the shoulder buttons, and I'm on the triggers, and that's how I like to play. Everyone does different things. People do this, people do all sorts of weird grips, but you know, this is probably normal, natural, right? But for me, I like to do this. I don't really use these fingers like this. And for me, for this one, it's quite nice because the actual the button press on this Nacon, the MG-X Pro, the shoulder buttons do stretch out a little bit further to the sides than this one. You can see they wrap around the sides a little bit more. So for me, my fingers sit on there quite nicely, and I'm able to get the triggers and I'm able to get the buttons with minimal movement. Right on the edges I can catch them, and they're pressing from there and they're pressing from there. And you may or may not remember, but one of the previous Xbox version controllers, so the same thing with this, right? Your buttons, my fingers are catching the buttons there, right? And then I can get onto the triggers as well, right? So shoulder button, the triggers, and that's very, very nice. Now I can catch the triggers just with the mid of my finger there. And there was a problem with one of the, I can't remember which one it was, maybe the one that came with the Xbox Series X first, where they had a slight change in the way they had these buttons configured, and it wasn't very easy to press them on the end. You had to get them more here, and they did change that. They fixed it again, so it was good to see that. So again, from here, this is very, very nice. And let's do the same sort of test here. Is these buttons, the shoulder buttons, are a little bit more in. I like the micro switches of this better, and they do press all the way along, right? All the way along that rail there, that shoulder button, they react, but it's not as easy to get them with my fingers here. So you'd probably be having to do more of this stuff, which for me isn't very comfortable. But then the triggers on this controller, I like them a little bit better. Now these ones, as you can see, right, is they're not, your fingers aren't really going to slip off this, right? But they're not catching, they're not holding your fingers or supporting your fingers as much. It's not very curved. If you look at the original Xbox controller, look how much they stick out. Can you see that? See that there? Your fingers aren't going anywhere on that, even when it's fully pressed in, because it's curved out so much that your fingers are just in there the whole time. See that? That's why they made them like that. And remember the old PlayStation controllers, people were buying little clips to clip them on there, because the PS2 controllers didn't have that. They were flat, and you know, your fingers would just slide off after long gaming sessions. Look at these ones. These ones are more like the Xbox controller. They've got that angle on there. See that there? You can see that side profile. They've got a lovely angle on there, and the triggers on here are a lot nicer. I think they're also a little bit stiffer. So these triggers are tiny little bit lighter. No problem. They work absolutely fine. They've both got good travel in them. These ones are a little bit stiffer. To me, I don't know. I like the triggers better on here. Unfortunately, the shoulder buttons aren't a deal breaker because you can still get them. But I like the idea that the shoulder buttons wrap around a little bit more. If I'm comparing this to the Xbox controller, I think, and yeah, the Xbox controller, the triggers are a bit higher, so the shoulder buttons are a bit higher, so I can get them. And I can manage to get them with this as well, though it's probably easy to miss, right? These ones, you're not missing these because your finger's going right over their corners. And I like that they wrap around a lot more. So enough about the triggers and shoulder buttons, but that's my opinions on these. These are larger, and again, the angle on here isn't a big deal breaker either, right? It will hold your fingers. It's just that these are a little bit more nicely angled and more close to the original Xbox controllers. And then let's talk about the buttons. So the first thing I noticed about this one, right, these ABXY buttons, is they look too big to me. I know the controller's big, but do they have to make the buttons so big? Spacing is alright, it's not a biggie. You know, they're big and they're a bit too close maybe for my liking. Now if I'm comparing this to an original Xbox controller, you can see which ones are bigger, right? These ones are huge. This, it was an Xbox controller, right? For me, it's the perfect gaming controller. These are spaced beautifully. There's a good amount of space in them. You're not moving your thumb too much to get across to all of the buttons there. They're raised perfectly. Yeah, it is the ultimate controller for me. These ones, I don't know, they're a bit too big, and I think because of the size, they seem to be a little bit too close together for my liking. And the button press feels awesome. Yeah, they really have got nice switches on them. They feel awesome. They're responsive. No issues there. Nice amount of travel on them as well. Just not a fan of the size. A bit too big. Whilst these ones, I don't know, these aren't magnetic. These ones feel a bit more like the original Xbox controllers. Again, the switches are nice. They've both got good travel. I like what they did here with the XY buttons. They're a bit more raised versus the AB buttons, which are a bit further sunk in. So, you know, the ones that are more at the tip of your thumb are a bit higher up. And it actually does make a difference. They're very easy to press them. Lovely travel in them. And really good response. And the spacing for me is a little bit better. Not as good as the Xbox one. But not as close as these huge buttons here. And they're not massive. So for me, the winner from the ABXY buttons perspective is the Moga. Mixed bag so far. So again, as I said, this is not an easy one to say buy this one, don't buy that one. You've really got to make up your own mind about which pros and cons win for you. There are benefits to both of these controllers. Next, moving on to the analog sticks. Very important. So the analog sticks on this controller feel great, though they're not very rubbery. But then, after playing on them yesterday for a little while, I realized it's not a deal breaker. What is nice about these is they have the same sort of a grip that this Xbox controller has, and all the new controllers have it as well on the side, although this is more rubbery and this is not as rubbery, but that grip really does keep your fingers in place. So once your fingers are getting to the edges, it really does stop your fingers from sliding off. It's really offering a lot of resistance, and the fact that there's some sort of a patterned print on here is giving you some sort of traction. I didn't find my fingers sliding all over the place, though I would prefer a more rubberized finish. In terms of travel and feel, the analog sticks on here do feel very nice and soft and smooth, though I found that the clicky, so the L3 and the R3 buttons, which is you clicking the sticks in, was a little bit stiffer than the original pads, because these ones click very nicely. Don't need as much effort to press these in, just a little bit more. Again, not a deal breaker, and you can hear them if I hold it up, quite noisy. They take a bit of effort to get in. Right, you can get them in on the angles as well if you know if you're in the middle of movement and you're trying to push them in. They do work, just a bit more effort required. Whilst these ones are very close to the original Xbox controller, so I think the effort required to press these actually probably a bit lighter. and nice, because when you they're lighter, they're definitely lighter. I think of all three, I prefer the actual L3 R3s on this controller. They feel very nice, very satisfying click when they're going in. You can hear the sound, nowhere near as loud as the Moga, and very responsive. And these analog sticks here, though they do feel a little bit, the caps are a bit smaller, they are rubberized and they do offer a lot of grip. I wish they did have the actual sort of the sort of rough edges around the edges of the stick. They don't have them. I think they might actually provide different keycaps caps for these, but you can typically buy covers for these anyway, as you could probably for these. So none of the caps on the analog sticks are really a real deal breaker, because you can buy covers for them, and then you can get them to your liking anyway. Otherwise, analog sticks on both controllers, they're pretty much full-size analog sticks, very responsive, very smooth on both of them. None of them feel stiff at all, and from a clickiness perspective, the winner for me is the Nacon on this one. So the next, I guess, one of the very important things for gamepads for me is D-pads, and I did talk about the Nacon one a lot on the review as well. Unfortunately, I just don't like the D-pad on the Nacon. I find it, look at that, look at the noise on that. I don't like the way each button feels. The direction pads, it doesn't feel nice for me at all. That is a deal breaker for me. It's just not a nice D-pad. I don't like the shape of it. It's weird, because you can see it's wider towards the inner parts of the D-pad, and then it's narrow towards the ends. I prefer when you've got a more sort of square layout like these ones. Look at this. This D-pad feels awesome. It plays very nice. It's got lovely travel. The center is dipped in, so your thumb rests very nicely in it as well. And overall, this feels a lot more. You're more in control with this D-pad, and it's not that noisy. Look at this. This one is just, it's hideous. That is not a nice D-pad. That's a deal breaker D-pad for me. Compare it to the original ones, very hard to compare these. If anything is going to come close, it's this one. This is nice. This is just, it's awesome, isn't it? But there we go, right? So D-pad, this one wins. The analog stick, the clickiness, this one wins. In terms of movement, they're both awesome. So let's turn them over. Let's go to the back of them. No buttons here. Buttons here. So this has got two programmable, remappable buttons. You can map these to anything here on the front, or these buttons. So you've got an additional option, and I think you can pair them up as well. So you've got triggers. I haven't really tried the app, to be honest, to mess around with them, but you've got the triggers there as well. And your fingers, for me, the fingers that rest on them are these two here. So my middle fingers rest on them, but you can adjust your grip and catch them with these fingers here as well. So typically one of these two, depending on your hand size and how you hold your controller, are going to be the ones that are pressing the buttons. They press in very easily, so not a lot of effort required. So it's not like, you know, you're having to really force in. You can really hit them naturally, and that makes them usable. I think some of the controllers where these buttons need a bit of effort on the back kind of spoils the gameplay, because then, you know, when you're putting the effort on the back buttons, you're kind of shifting your focus or effort on the front buttons, which is useless, unfortunately. So programmable buttons, no programmable buttons, not a deal breaker for me, but for some people it might be. I think if you're playing, you know, pro gaming on your main consoles, yes, maybe you need them. Mobile gaming on the go, I don't think so much you need them, but there we go. So let's talk about features. They're both Bluetooth controllers. They connect to the device through Bluetooth connectivity. There's no USB ports on these, though there are for charging, because they're both Bluetooth. They have their own batteries in them, and they've got to be charged. In terms of battery life, very difficult for me to comment on them, because I haven't played with each of them long enough to drain the batteries and charge them multiple times. Now you've just seen me slide this device out here from this controller. What is it? This is a kickstand. Very nice to have. It's a very nice stand. It slides completely flat into the controller. When it slid in there, the controller does not open. So let's just do that again. When it slid in there, it's effectively holding the controller together. And you've got something that's closer to a main sort of controller. Size wise, again, you can see the difference there as well, right? This is a lot smaller, a lot more compact. If you're using it like this, this is huge. There we go. So let's just get that. So this won't slide out. It's effectively locking it from sliding out. So let's get rid of that. Tablet stand, and I can probably just grab a tablet from here that I've got on the side. This is, what is this, a 10-inch Fire 10 HD plus something. Stands up on there absolutely fine. As you can see, it holds it nicely, and you'll get a really good gaming session out of that. So it's very, very handy to have that kickstand with you. There you go, you can see it all around. Very, very sturdy. As you can see, I've just spun it around. The tablet isn't falling off of there at all. Maybe some larger tablets might struggle, I don't know. But there we go. Your fold is not going to struggle on there at all. I can get my phone on there. I did this in the review video as well. I can get my phone on there absolutely fine. So we've got Xbox Game Pass open there naturally. Why would you not have that open? Why would you have anything else open on your phone? Ready to go. There we go. And then you can connect and you can start playing, get a good session out. So kickstand is a win. This one doesn't have one. Let's talk about the where the phone sits in, right? So both controllers have this weird thing of something at the bottom to stop the phone going down too far, and I'm guessing the idea is stopping your phone from sliding all the way through, right? But why not have this extendable or do something else? Because what this is stopping me doing is this is stopping me from putting the phone down a bit. Now I might, as I said yesterday in the review video, I might chop these off with a Dremel, because if I do, they'll be clean and I can set the phone down, and I'm not that concerned. I don't think the phone is going to go flying down. I haven't tested any of these with a thicker case on yet, so time will tell how they fit in. This one has a full rubberized grip on the back, probably offering a bit more traction to hold your device in, whilst this one has two rubber strips, one at the top, one at the bottom, and again they both have some form of supporting the device from sliding down at the bottom. So this one's got this little lump here in the middle, whilst this one's got two little pegs on the bottom. You can see one there and one there, both serving the same purpose. So let's go a little bit further now, is the actual mechanism to stretch it open. As I said in the review, this one, I don't know, I'm not feeling that. It doesn't feel great to me. It feels a bit clunky. I get the idea behind it is it opens twice because then it's allowed them to have a slightly smaller controller. That's cool. Time will tell how long that lasts. You can see me opening and closing it here, not trying to break it, but when it is open, you've got a bit of play in there. It doesn't feel super sturdy, and I'm going to talk about that with the device in there as well. But this one is a lot more sturdy, and even when it's open, because it's got this whole bar that comes along. Now this one, the movement to open and close this is a lot nicer. Now if I'm going to try and measure up here roughly, so on my mat, so roughly there, I don't think that the well, I can see roughly where that's going to be. I think from a size perspective, you're going to get a slightly larger device in this. Let's try and open them together, just to be sure. This is going to be fun. Ooh, there we go. Which one? Moga. Tiny bit wider. Sorry, not the Moga, the Nacon. Just a tiny bit. Not much in it at all. But this one, the mechanism feels a lot nicer. It's a lot smooth. It's a lot more refined. And when it is opening and closing, it feels a lot more sturdy. It requires a lot less effort. This one, a bit more effort, feels clunky, and there you go. Another thing to note on these though is this controller here, as well as having this stopper in the middle, has got these stoppers in the corner right here. Now something to be wary of is on this controller, if you were to chop this off, you still have a problem with getting the fold in the middle, because these little bits on the sides here would stop you from seeing the phone in the middle anyway, right? Because the corner of your phone is going to rest here and here. So normal sort of smartphone, imagine this is my smartphone, it's going to fit in there like that, right? And the corner you can see is going to fit in there. This one doesn't have that, so when this one's open, it's completely open at the bottom, and your phone, or the bit it has got is rubberized, to be honest, so it will squeeze in a bit, and it's forgiving, as you can see there. And this is going to allow you to fit your phone in if you did chop these bits off. Not that these are made to chop bits off of them, I'm just saying, right, if you want to take a Dremel to it and, you know, be a bit creative, you can. this one, the phone's going to fit in a lot nicer. So let's go ahead and put the phones in. Now you've seen me do this on the videos where I've done this independent reviews for each of these. So I'll start with the Nacon because that's the one I reviewed first, and you'll see what I mean. Now remember, we've got the thick case on here as well now. So we've got the, let's put this at the bottom, the thicker part at the bottom. So this is the slim standing case. You can see the little kickstand there as well. Flips out, pretty decent case for the Fold, to be honest. And let's go ahead and try and put this in, right? So again, effort required to open that was minimal. It's in, it fits nicely. You can see this thing at the bottom doing its job. It's holding the phone from sliding down. Again, not something I'm majorly concerned about, but you know, it is there, right? So you know, when you're gaming away, it would be like this. If I turn it on, it will probably connect. This will be funny because both controllers will probably connect as I turn them on. Let's get this into Bluetooth mode. Aha! Wonder if we can do some two-player cloud gaming because they're both connected. So, as I said, going back to this now, this you know, it's holding it very, very firm. Now this is it all going to fall to pieces test? Let's call it. Is this all going to fall to pieces when I hold it with one hand? It feels very heavy, obviously, but this thing feels solid as a rock. This is not moving at all. Very, very sturdy mechanism on this, right? So I hold it with one hand for a little while and move it around a bit, and that's not going anywhere. That is very, very, very solid, right? Now you can see with the case as well, it's holding it. It is just about holding it, so you're not going to get anything thicker than that in there. Maybe if I can show you there a bit closer, you can see how it is really, really tight around the edges of that case there. But it is getting in, it's holding it nicely. So let's move it out, and again, getting it out very, very easy. You can see that smooth mechanism there in play. Let's get it into this one, a bit more clunky now. Still gets it in, but this one is a lot more, I guess, receptive of a thicker cover, because you can see there, it's gone right into the edges there. Now you might actually be able to get a slightly thicker case in, you might not, I don't know. I think that again, that's probably the limit. You can see right at the back there's a tiny bit of space. You could probably get away with slightly thicker cover, but you're talking millimeters at most. I think personally, I think this is absolutely perfect. Now, is it all going to fall to pieces test when I hold it with one hand? This doesn't feel as sturdy. It's not going to fall to pieces, but I'll be honest, waving this around here, the other side of the controller is moving a bit. Doesn't feel as sturdy. It's not going to fall to pieces, tell you that, because the phone's probably holding it together more than anything else. But there we go. And the springs on both of them are really, really good and strong, because when I'm holding it and allowing the weight to go down on one side, you can see they're not falling to pieces, right? So from a weight distribution perspective, I think because this is a bit taller, I think the phone feels a bit more centered in this. It doesn't feel as top heavy because the device is a bit lower down. When it's in here, it feels like it's a bit higher up because this is narrow, so there's more of the phone sticking out. In any case, depending on which way you mount the phone, if you stick the phone in a way where the USB-C port is on this top right hand corner here, then you do have access to charge the phone directly anyway. And that brings me on to another feature with these two. So first thing worth noting, USB-C charging port on this one. You know, if you want to just carry one cable around, charge your phone and your gamepad. This one has a micro USB port. Not a super biggie. It does come with a C to micro USB adapter, but you know, why not just have a C port on these devices now? That's where we are in this day and age, right? I'm going to try it. I'm not going to try it. I'm not going to try it. I was going to try to see if you can do two-player with two controllers connected. Didn't think of that before. But anyway, so you can see the phone fitting in there, right? This feels a lot nicer, I think, from the Fold. It's weird because the phone isn't sticking out as much, as I said. And even with this thick case, it really is getting around that phone completely. So, you know, the screen's not being, it's not going over the screen at all, but it really is covering the edges. And it's really gripped the phone very, very well. And you can see that, right? Is if I was to take the bottom bits off here, this really would slide right down the middle and it would feel awesome in there. and again, ergonomically, no problems with the controller whatsoever. It does feel very, very nice. So I think that would be quite nice. Yeah, heavier. If I talk about weight quickly, this is definitely heavier, a lot heavier than this one here, with the phone in as well. Obviously, just without the phone, this is a heavier controller than this one. I have no idea what game I fired up there. I've clearly pressed a button and fired something up. I'm not going to be playing, so don't worry about it. But yes, and you can see the back screen there as well. Lovely. This is the power pack, I believe. I'm guessing the battery's here. Again, one of the benefits of this is, and I think with both of them really, maybe, I haven't tried with that one, is this one you can charge your phone through the USB cable, or you can wirelessly charge your phone as well. Now, again, time will tell how useful the wireless charging in this device is, but when it's in like this, let's try it with a thick case as well. So I've got the thick case on. When I tried it yesterday, it did work, but if I put this switch on, it's charging my phone. So you saw that it came up. Now just turn it off and on again. There you go, 20%. The nice thing about this, right, is they thought about putting a switch, because you might not want to wirelessly charge your phone all the time. It might not be doing a great job of charging it anyway. It might just be that it keeps it at the same battery percentage rather than actually providing boost while you're gaming. But it is nice that it's got that option, right, of whether or not you want to charge your phone, because you might not want to. So yeah, why should you be forced to just have your battery getting nuked with a wireless charging mode all the time anyway? So this is interesting, right, because this is actually I'm firing up Pac-Man for whatever reason, with the volume button at the bottom. I don't know why it's going through all this nonsense, telling me I've got wallpapers and all sorts of stuff. I have no idea how I've obtained all these items, because I've never played Pac-Man. Maybe someone else has been playing it and I don't know. Right, there we go. It is working, and let's see what happens with this. So I can use both controllers at exactly the same time. That's funny. Very, very funny. I have no idea why I'd ever want to do that. But they are both working absolutely fine. I think I'm getting towards the end of it. In terms of other buttons, you've got your guide button. They're both going to do exactly the same thing, as you can see there. And then you've also got your menu buttons and your screenshot buttons there as well on both controllers. The face buttons are the same. This one's got the battery check as well, which is quite nice. You don't see battery life on this one. One thing that Moga has done in their previous controller as well, which I really, really like, is they've got a battery meter, so you can see how much battery life is left on your controller, and you know whether or not you need to throw it on charge before you hit the road, right? So it's always nice to have a battery meter on a device, and it's good that they've got that. The other thing, and I haven't tried with this one, is whether or not USB-C connectivity works, is that the controller here has got a USB-C and a Bluetooth, so USB Bluetooth switch on it. So if you're using this hardwired to a console or computer, you can just switch it into USB mode, and then you're playing as a USB gamepad rather than a Bluetooth gamepad, which is a nice feature to have as well. And it works with the phones, as I tested it on the review, which is I can plug the cable into here and straight into the phone, and I can have a wired mode. So if I'm worried about lag or anything like that, I can completely eliminate lag, and it comes with a nice short cable to go from phone to controller, and away you go. So it's good to have that flexibility as well. Which one would I buy if I was buying these two? I'll be honest, as much as I like the trigger buttons on here and the analog sticks, I think if I had to buy just one of these, and I buy these from, I don't make much money off this channel, but the money I make I invest back into the channel so I can review more and more items for the people that are watching and supporting the channel. So any little bit of profit that comes at the end of the month generally goes to a new device, as you can see. Otherwise I wouldn't be buying all these different controllers to review. So please appreciate that I do invest back into the channel, but otherwise I wouldn't be buying all these controllers. If I had to buy one and I had watched a review like this giving all the pros and cons, I would probably go with this one, but that's just me. I think overall, yes, this feels a bit more sturdy. It's got the C charging port on it. I said it's not a deal breaker, right? For me overall, I think the benefits of this controller outweigh this one tiny bit smaller. You could probably get a nice carry case for this as well, and then you've got the flexibility of using this on more devices than you have with this one as well. So yeah, I think if I had to choose one, I'd probably be choosing this one. Have I covered everything? I think I have. I've covered the ergonomics, I've covered the backs, I've covered the sort of stretchiness, the mountability of a phone, the way they can hold a phone with thick covers, the triggers, the bumpers. I've covered the face buttons and all the other buttons, the analog sticks, and the clicky buttons there as well. So hopefully that gives you a really good idea of the pros and cons of both of these controllers, the features, and how they cater for the large folding devices. I think this might... Can I play two-player? Can I play two-player? No, they're both acting as player one. They're both acting as player one here. Yeah. All good. It's funny though that they both act as exactly the same controller. Right, the D-pad on here feels awesome. You can see I'm playing Pac-Man with the D-pad. I'll give you a quick gaming demo, and then look at that. Really good D-pad. Let's get that pill. Let's get that pill. See some ghosts. Really good D-pad on this. And what a great game to test a D-pad out. That was accidental. What a great game to test a D-pad on. Really good. Great D-pad, great controller, good feature set. Both of them comes with a tablet stand. Never know, you might want a game with your tablet. So I apologize, this has been a bit of a long video, but I did want to spend some time covering this off without a rush. So I'm going to end the video. I'm going to say thank you once again for watching, supporting my channel. If you've got any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I do try and answer whenever I can. If you've enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel, hitting that button in the bottom right hand corner. I really appreciate the support I get, and hopefully see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, take care, and all the best.